Beautiful.
Welcome to X's and O's. I'm Jeff Harrison.
I'm Leslie Spoor.
Leslie, before we get started, we'll let some people kind of join in. You've been doing a lot of work around the house, as far around your office, as far as construction and stuff. How's that working out with your vendors? I mean, are you bringing people in that you're using consistently on your business, or are you bringing in some other people, or do you have how's that all working out?
For the most part, we use a vendor network that we've developed over the last decade so that we know who we're working with and the quality of their work. I think that's really important.
Yeah. Now, I know you don't give discounts, but are you asking for discounts? No, you don't have to say. You don't have to answer that. You don't have to answer that. So, it's just, if this is the first time you joined us on the show, Leslie, tell us a little bit about why people would want to join us on the show.
Well, we're here trying to solve problems that small business owners, or all business owners, face. After 20 years of helping companies and building my own company, I feel like I'm uniquely qualified to help small business owners solve various problems because I've walked in their moccasins, if you will.
Sure.
Right? So you'd be hard-pressed to come up with a situation I haven't already dealt with the hard way, and I want to make sure other people don't have to struggle to find solutions or make wrong turns, right? I made a lot of mistakes in the first few years of my business, and I don't want other people to do that. So that's why we started this, to start to give you weekly little pieces of information that will help you. And then if we cover a topic for which you need more information, then you can contact me and we can work one-on-one. But we want to give you as much as we can every single week.
So the idea of this is like today, we're going to be talking about something that concerns liabilities. I want to make sure that they understand is, you're not an attorney.
No.
I'm not an attorney, not an accountant. So you're speaking from, I'm going to say, street smart experience.
Right. And if we say anything that sounds like it's legal, then for sure you need to speak to your own attorney, because state and local laws vary. I was going to say from state to state, but that'd be redundant. So they do vary, so you should always consult your own accountant, your own attorney for anything that's legal related. But today we're going to talk about liability from a spoken perspective. I want to explain what E&O is real quickly. Do you know?
I need to know what E&O is.
E&O is. And also how you can protect yourself in that context.
Yeah, I think we're going to talk about protecting yourself from liability today, right?
Correct.
And when we talked about this earlier, before we started, I'm like, well, what do you mean? And when she explained this to me, it's like, you got to be kidding me. Well, if that's the case, why would I do what she's about to say? How do you protect yourself from that? Why would I even do that?
Right.
Because so many businesses, in fact, somebody we just met with about an hour ago, we talked about how much their business is on repeats and referrals. And that's the crux of today's message. So why don't you take us away?
Well, first of all, E&O means errors and omissions. And what that is, in a nutshell, is a he said, she said, or she said, she said situation where when you do speak about something, it can be interpreted as a verbal contract. And if somebody gets tweaked out and wants to hold you accountable for something you said, legally they can do it if they want to. And so we want to help. I want to explain one situation where verbal communication can be interpreted as a contract and how to protect yourself from that. And in that case, what we want to talk today about is referrals. And because we're talking about my vendors, right. And I get asked this question all the time: how do I find good vendors? So the first thing I want to explain is that referrals are a legal contract of sorts.
Now, is that just in California, or is that?
No, I think that's everywhere.
That's everywhere.
Yeah, you'd have to check your own state and local laws, but I think it's pretty much anywhere. Think about it like this: somebody comes up to you and says, "Oh, do you know a good handyman?" for example, and you say, "Oh yeah, call Joe Schmo over here. He's did really good for me." But then there's a personality conflict, or the job doesn't go well, because there's always, even with the best vendor in the world, there are times when something happens, like some jobs just never go right. And so say he doesn't do well, or they have a personality clash, and now that person can come back to you,
wow,
literally, and say you recommended him, okay? And so now you're responsible.
Wow. So I'd have to have him sign something that says, hey, I was just,
No.
this is just a suggestion, you have to check out on your own, and buyer beware. I mean, what's it?
Well,
because that freaks me out now, because you know what, here's a little side note, is I just picked up my car from someone who I think 3 years ago you referred me to them.
Oh, good.
And
Jonathan.
Awesome.
Yeah,
and so,
he's good.
and they've been very, very reliable. But I picked my car up last night, and they'd kind of already closed. The mechanics had gone, and the sound that I gave it to them for and paid for was still there.
Oh, really?
So I just want you to know I'm holding you liable.
Oh, okay.
Is there a time frame on that, by the way?
No, 3 years.
Well, this was just last night.
Oh, okay. Well, then no. I guess there's no time frame.
I'll be getting a check before I leave. So anyway,
so the thing is that people do referrals all the time without giving any thought to it, and hopefully your clients are referring you to their friends, and that you're doing a really good quality job, and there'll be no issues. But one of the things I get asked about the most is, how do I develop a good vendor network? Because I want to be able to refer other services. Now, I'm going to talk to you about how to set up a vendor network in just a second, but I want to tell you how I protect myself in this context, and that is I use electronic referrals. I rarely give a verbal referral. I have an electronic referral, and those have a statement, a disclaimer on that protects me and my company, and like property management companies that I work with too, because we do a lot of work in communities and we want to make sure we protect those people as well. So what we do is in the state of California, and this varies from state to state, so you have to find out what works in your state, I say country, in your state
or country.
There's a statement that needs to be there for referrals that says the homeowner is responsible for who they choose to work in their home.
And that's it.
That's the most important piece. I mean, there's more that is stated on there about, that you agree that we did the best we could to refer somebody that's really awesome, but sometimes things go wrong. I mean, I'm paraphrasing. Sure. But the statement in California that matters is that the homeowner or the person receiving the referral is ultimately responsible for who they choose to work in their home. When you say that, then it takes the burden of responsibility off of you and says, okay, you need to do your own due diligence and decide if you really want to work with this person. Yeah. So, from how do you protect yourself, that's the way you do it. But before you get to that point, you want to make sure that the people you refer are good, honest, quality vendors. Right?
Makes sense.
And so a lot of people don't know where to find people like that, because we all know about how difficult it is to find good people to do jobs, right?
Well, we've even talked about off camera before about how your networking has gotten so large. You could literally be I can't even think of some of the companies now where
Angie's.
Like Angie's List. I mean, you are an Angie's List right here in the Coachella Valley. Why would anybody call anyone except you to say, hey, I need this? And of course, they get electronic email that says, do your due diligence.
Well, it doesn't say that, but
I mean, it infers that. So, but at least when you're giving someone a referral, you probably already vetted them, right?
Right. We only refer people that we have personally vetted, and that's part of what I wanted to talk about today. So the first thing is, where do you find good vendors? Where do you find good vendors?
I usually call you.
That was a perfect response. And I only paid him $5 for that, so that was pretty good.
That's an X.
I want to suggest, because even for us, we have to find new vendors all the time. People will call us for services that we don't currently offer, and I have no qualms about saying, I'm sorry, I have nobody in my network for that service, because I will not open the phone book or online phone book or just call anybody, refer anybody out of the blue. I have to know them personally. Okay, so one of the places to find good vendors is, of course, your local Chamber of Commerce. You can go there, go to networking events there, meet people, start to develop relationships, as we talked about, other networking capabilities, and try to learn about who is good at what they do. Ask around, get I want to say referrals from other people, but it's okay to get referrals from other people. You just need to do your own due diligence. Okay. And then the second part of that is, yes, you need to meet them one-on-one and personally vet them yourself. And vet means, check and see what their insurance is like. See if they have client testimonials available. Do they have references? What kind of insurance do they carry? What kind of certifications or licenses do they have? Depending on the type of service you're talking about, all of those things matter, right? And we've actually helped vendors that we wanted to work with get insurance when they didn't have it by working with a insurance company that's in our network that offers liability insurance for subcontract services.
Yeah, because I mean that's something that you have to have when you go out there. I mean that could cause you to lose your entire business if you do something and you're sued.
Right, and because we're so diligent about how we vet our vendors, we are actually called upon to bring vendors into communities out here because we're insured. We name the communities additionally insured, and the vendors all name us insured. So the property management companies or the HOAs or whoever is contracting us knows that when we bring vendors onto the property, they are all have been vetted, are insured, and the quality is good.
Okay, so let's make sure. So first of all, if you're going to give a referral or if you're going to give a referral, make sure you make sure to let those people know electronically with the right verbiage. Right?
Yeah, and we'll circle back to that at the end of this. I want to talk about that a little bit more, but I wanted to tell you up front that there is a legal way to protect yourself. You can still do it casually if you follow these other steps, and casually I mean verbally.
Okay.
Because of the size of my company and because of our reputation here in the desert, I did not want to just do verbal referrals.
Sure,
I wanted to have a way to make absolutely certain I'm protected.
Yeah.
So I do it a little bit more formally, but you can still do an informal referral and protect yourself if you follow these guidelines.
Great. And then really make sure you do a good job of vetting. So you want to see their licenses, are they insured, do they have certification, do they have referrals.
Right.
Right.
And you want to make sure that if you're going to put them into the network that you're creating, or if you're going to refer them on any kind of frequency, then you want them to name you additionally insured. That way, if they have a personality conflict, sometimes you can do a great job and the client or the customer still is unhappy for whatever reason. They're having a bad day. They didn't communicate well enough, so the result of the project isn't what they had expected. I mean, there's a whole bunch of reasons why projects can go south, right? So if they decide, if they get into a disagreement or some kind of contentious, I don't want to pay you, and then legal stuff gets involved, if you're named additionally insured, then they can't come after you, or at least you're protected if they try to.
Cool. I mean, we have an event tomorrow for one of our clients, and that's exactly what we wanted. The people that are coming to speak at this location had to provide insurance, just like you said, to add the additionally insured, so that if anything happened while that person was on site speaking, the location is not held liable.
Right, and it's critical. Insurance is one of those things, and again, you need to check your legal, local, and state requirements for this sort of thing, because I can't speak to every state that's out there as far as understanding what their requirements are, but you need to check all that, and your local ones as well, because sometimes what the local government requires is stronger and more stringent than even your state. Sometimes depends on where you live and what you do and how things work. But if you insurance is critical for your company, right, and for your vendors. Most of us who own businesses use some kind of vendors. Most of us do, right? I'm sure you do.
We do.
Right? I do. I have a whole, like I said, I have a whole network of people that I call upon because we offer so many services that we don't do in-house.
Right.
Right? So being insured and getting having the vendor name you additionally insured should not cost your vendor anything. Most insurance companies do not charge extra for additionally insured certificates. So it isn't like you're asking your vendor to put out a bunch of money, right? You just want them to be sure that they're protecting you. And there is a format to that as well. I have a document that I send to potential new vendors for our network that tells their broker, the insurance broker, exactly what we need and how the certificate needs to read. So it makes it as easy as possible. We go out of our way to try to make it as easy as possible for the vendor to get us this additionally insured certificate.
Just like color by number. Just follow the directions.
Right.
Cool.
And then they fax it to me and it's perfect, and then we're all good.
So if you do those things, then you're protected, or is there more things that they should probably do when you're building that network?
Well, again, you want to try to find, you've got to set up some structure for yourself as far as building a vendor network, because you don't want to get in the habit of being uncomfortable if somebody asks you for something you don't have, right? if your reputation is that you have a good network, people will come to you, and often they'll ask you for things you don't have. I just turned down an opportunity to bid a job a week ago because the person who called me wanted a service that we don't offer, or at least I don't have it currently in my network, so I couldn't even refer somebody to do it. You know, I want to help as much as I can, and if they had wanted it, I would have tried to go find somebody and vet them and get them to name us additionally insured so I could refer them, but they already had other people available.
Well, now let's say, I mean, you as an example, are you a unique situation where you have, you know, you're kind of the hub in the wheel, and those are spokes, all those referrals, right, all those vendors. But why would, like, say, somebody like myself, why would I want to have a list of vendors as a referral process? Let's say, for instance, let's say we go to the All Valley, you know, Chamber of Commerce that's at, the Air Museum today.
Tonight, yeah.
And we're talking to people. I mean, are people going to come up to me? I guess I'm trying to think of, people come up to me and say, hey, do you know somebody did some landscaping? I mean, I don't know. I mean, where would I see that this would be beneficial?
Well, all of it depends on the kind of services you offer, but I'm sure everybody who's watching have had an instance where somebody said, hey, do you know a housekeeper, or do you know somebody who washes windows, do you know a handyman? I mean, I'm sure that people have asked you on occasion.
That's not my hair. But.
Not your wife does your hair.
Exactly, so yeah, keep it in-house.
But not necessarily business related, right?
Right.
But just in general, they'll ask you this question. So if you're going to do referrals professionally, then you absolutely need to follow some guidelines as far as protecting yourself. Even not professionally, if you think about it, you go to subcontract vendors I know you do, all right? There are camera people, there are editing people that you go to that do work for you, right? Whether you refer those to other services or not, I don't know. But if you were going to, then you want to make sure that you're insured.
Okay, so now that makes more sense, because we do refer sometimes our editors, or like we have a virtual assistant that will refer sometimes, and so that makes me think, geez, I wonder, because I want to make sure they have as good an experience as I have,
right?
And if not, I certainly don't want to be held liable,
right?
Okay, so you're saying take that electronic route and make sure they understand. It's up to them to vet that person.
So let me explain the electronic piece of this a little bit. What we've done through my software actually is when we process a referral, somebody calls and said, I need a housekeeper, for example. Do you know a housekeeper? We will get some information where they live and their contact info and that sort of thing, and then we'll enter it in the system, and when we save it, it sends 2 emails out. One goes to the homeowner who requested the service, and there's a disclaimer on there that says we endeavor to provide the highest quality services, all our vendors are insured, and then it has the statement about you're responsible for who you pick, right? The other email goes to the vendor and says, this is not a guarantee of work. It's up to you to pursue the sales opportunity, right? It's basically a lead. And that you agree to hold us harmless from any issues that happen in the course of doing this business.
So you're protecting yourself on both ends.
I'm protecting myself on both ends.
All right. Because now that leads me to think, okay, so if let's say I referred you and your business to Amy, and Amy didn't buy, can I be held liably responsible for that?
No.
Okay.
Not in this, no. And generally speaking, I don't want to scare everybody too badly. Generally
I'm
speaking,
going to stop going to those chamber meetings.
Most people won't try to hold you responsible. But every once in a while you get a crazy person, right? And that crazy person can, and I hate to use that word because it sounds so judgmental. I apologize to all the crazy people out there. Sometimes
that's crazy.
Sometimes, though, you do get somebody who's unreasonable.
Sure.
We one time engaged with a client who I knew instantly was going to be a problem, and I should have said no.
Listen to your gut.
Absolutely, and we're going to do a thing about listening to your intuition at some point, but I absolutely should not have engaged with this client because I knew in my heart of hearts that this guy was going to be a problem. And so fortunately I did listen to the point where we started documenting everything we did with him and every conversation and sending him an email saying to confirm what we discussed and blah blah blah. But in the end, and this is the only time I've not gotten paid for something. In the end, he ended up canceling a credit card and not paying us, and tried to hold us accountable for somebody that we referred to him.
Wow.
So even one time is enough to make sure that you follow some rules that protect yourself.
Sure.
Right.
And you're going to make that available?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We have a download today that has all this stuff summarized. Okay.
Because I'm trying to remember this stuff. It'd be easier if I just downloaded it.
Yeah. And then the last thing that I wanted to encourage you to do, and I always come back to this, I've found that I am kind of like a dog with a bone when it comes to policies and procedures.
Oh, jeez.
I am constantly nagging about policies and procedures because it's really a best way to protect yourself and maintain the consistency, the quality and consistency for your business. So when you're working with vendors, first you're going to meet with them, right? And you're going to learn about them, develop a relationship with them, make sure they're going to put a good face on your company and represent you in a positive way, because when you refer them, that's exactly what they're doing, right?
Okay.
They're representing you. I can even, I'm going to deviate for just a second. I have had words with vendors who argue with security guards at these managed communities.
Wonderful.
Because you are representing me when I send you in to do a job, and you do not make a scene with the guards, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Because I'm the one that put you there.
That's right.
So we have educated our vendors never to do that. And they
Just
don't.
walk away.
Just walk away. Smile and say, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So when you do procedures, one of the things you want to discuss with these new potential vendors for your network is to make sure that you have an agreement about how soon after a project is complete, if there's any invoicing that comes to you, or that they're going to deal with the client they work out. But if they're going to, if you're brokering the services and you're referring them for projects, then you want to make sure that they do their invoicing in a timely manner, and that they that everything is there's non-competes and all this sort of stuff, right? Because when you refer somebody, you don't want them to then take that client and run off with them for something
So
else.
they still realize, hey, I'm here because of you, and I'm really working for you. I don't
Yes.
say, hey, Amy, I'll do that for you over here, and it'll cost you $50 less.
Yes.
But now you're working with me.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
got you. Okay.
Yeah, you want to have some, I call it honoring your sponsors, right? So if you actually build a network of people, and you're willing to refer those people, and you do so consistently, this is kind of like an Angie's List or some kind of professional referral system. You want to make sure that they honor that relationship,
Yeah.
right? And that they put a good face on your company, and they treat you well. Now, using we're on Angie's List too, but if you're using Angie's List, I don't know that they can actually guarantee, but I know that they have disclaimers,
Yeah.
right? So you just want to make sure you protect yourself. That's my most important message for today on this when you're working with vendors and doing referrals, because it is a verbal contract,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I got to tell you, when we first started this, I was a little nervous.
Why?
Well, because it's like, I generously will give out information or a referral of, this is a guy, and, like as an example, there's somebody now, I think they're going to be doing the roof on our church, and he was a referral. So I'm like, now I'm a little nervous. So it's like, I hope they do a great job. They did a little work for us, but not in extensive of what they're doing
Well,
for
did
our
you
church.
do your due diligence? Did you interview him? Did you find out if he had insurance? Did you make sure did you check his references?
He does have his license on his card. He has his license on No, I didn't, because he's done work for us personally at home, at my home, right? He's done a couple of nice jobs for us. And then he's also done some other work that I know he's aware of. And because we also did some commercial business for him, so we were doing some drone work on his roofs and
Sure.
some work at the Vintage. So it just, like I said, when we first began the show, I was a little nervous because I felt like, boy, I can't really refer anyone
That's not true.
because I'm now putting myself out to liability. I'm exposing myself to liability, but now I feel better that it said, okay, there are some steps we can take to protect ourselves and still be generous with some people. But before we do that, we need to make sure, as you say, to vet these people out, not just turn it over to you and now it's up to you to do that. I better do it before I do that.
Right. We keep our network. Most of the vendors in my network I've been working with for 9 or 10 years. A long time. And they do put a good face on our business, and we know who they are, and they're almost like family, right? In fact, a lot of cases they are like family because we know their husbands and wives and kids and all that stuff. It's important though, even in, we live in a fairly small demographic for business. Even if you live in a big one, you can still have that small town feel and the vendors that will respect your relationship. That's the most important thing. I get a lot of calls from clients who are concerned because they went to try to get a vendor and the vendor just took the work, they took the client, and instead of just doing the small piece that they were intended to do, they started referring all kinds of other services and upselling and doing all sorts of things. So building that relationship is probably the most important part of building a vendor network. I mean, of course, the insurance is legally, that's the most important part, but from a relationship, from a consistency of keeping your vendor network together, you want to build that relationship with each one so that they want to work with you, so they trust you. Yeah. And one of the ways to do that, by the way, is to pay them quickly. If you're not doing a straight referral, if you're actually subbing out the work, then you want to make sure you pay them fast.
That makes sense. Nobody likes to wait for their check in the mail.
Nope.
Cool.
Nope.
Anything else, Leslie?
Not for right now, except that make sure you download the white paper and get the summary of all of this sort of thing so that you have this at your disposal. And we have a webinar actually about how to create vendor networks that goes into this in much more depth. That's available on our website at conciergebusinesssolutions.com, and then you look for the education tab and down to webinars.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And so they just download and can watch it from there.
Yeah, you can watch it whenever you want. But there's a lot. I was getting so many of the same questions all the time that we decided to make a webinar out of it so that it was easy and much more affordable.
Well, the thing I like about how you do the webinars is they're on demand.
Right.
In other words, hey, if I want to watch it right now, I want to watch it now, not, okay, we're going to schedule it 2 weeks from today. I forget about that. So I like that.
Yeah, you can watch in your pajamas if you want. It's okay.
So make sure to go to our website. I think it's on the screen now. Yeah, we'll be on the screen now. conciergebusinesssolutions.com, and take advantage of that. If you have any questions or topics that you would like to hear about, please feel free to put them in the comments section or just email Leslie at info@conciergebusinesssolutions.com, and we'll talk about it. I know you've got scheduled things out we're going to talk about.
Yeah, next week.
Hot topic.
Next week is a really hot topic because we're going to talk about how to target your marketing so that you can get fast returns on your...
Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants
fast returns on their marketing. They don't want to make more money. Nobody wants that.
Okay, there may be a few out there.
Okay, great.
Cool.
We'll talk about that next week.
So that's next week. Make sure to be here. I'm Jeff Harrison.
I'm Leslie Spoor.
This is with X's and O's with Leslie Spoor, and we'll see you next week. Great job.
Thanks. Are we off?
No coffee, no sneezing. You're all good.
My nose started to itch really bad.